Hello, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at the Fashion Institute of Technology. This tutorial is for JD138 or basic rhino modeling. We're going to be, this tutorial focuses on placing a background bitmap for the tracing of our pendant project and the fundamentals of tracing using history. So first thing I'm going to do is go into my top viewport, and I'm going to access the background bitmap. So, viewport layout, place bitmap. Okay, I need to find where I have that stored. And now I drag a box of basically any size. Alright. Going to now center this and bring it to scale. Do that by first drawing the circle that I want it to fit into when it's all finished. I'm going to make it a 27mm diameter circle. I want to make sure diameter is checked, and that I type in 27. This provides me the reference points that Rhino is going to ask for on my construction plane. My construction plane is going to ask me for two sets of points. It's going to ask for a reference point on the bitmap, which is here, and a reference point on my C-plane, which is, behind the bitmap. Neither one of these items has any geometry I can snap to for precision, so I'm creating reference geometry, and the circle is where I want it to end up. The circle is the reference geometry for the C-plane. Now I'm going to create reference geometry for the bitmap. That basically is at the right shape and scale of what the bitmap currently shows the pendant to be. Easiest tool for that is to do a rectangle. And I like center corner, but you can draw it however you'd like. I'm not fussy. I just want a rectangle that is more than half the size of this on all sides. Move it up to where it captures the top edge of my pendant. Move it over till it catches the right side. And then use a non-uniform scale with end snap. Capture this corner. Scale inward till it touches the other side of the frame, and click and scale downwards till it catches the bottom of the frame. And then Z is coming straight towards me. There's no point for that in this instance, particularly with a flat curve, so we're going to just use 1, or enter in this case, because 1 is already selected. Okay, so I have reference geometry on the C-plane that relates to this image. Say that again, it's careful. I have reference image on the bitmap right now, this square, that relates to this image of my pendant. I have reference geometry on the C-plane. Okay, this image, this reference relates to how large and the location I want to be applied to this drawing. So, go into viewport layout, fly out my bitmap flyout, and hit align background bitmap. Base point on the bitmap. Okay? We need to have points that we can share between these two objects. I'm going to use mid and quad, because you can see those points would relate to each other. So base point on bitmap here. Reference point on bitmap here. Base point on C-plane here. Reference point on C-plane. And there we go. And that places the bitmap. Now I'm going to trace this. Okay. Okay, it's going to have an 8mm round gem. So I'll put that in. That gem has to have a 0.2 relief and a 0.9 wall. There's the relief. There's the wall. Okay, so it's a slightly different proportion than what my sketch was, and that's fine. And then I'm going to draw the wires. This design only has one wire, which I will draw using my interpolate curve. You can turn off object snaps so they don't get in my way. And I'm just going to approximate it. I want to make sure it ends inside the bezel and inside the frame. That's important to me. I'm going to rebuild it so that it has enough points for me to work with. Right now it's 11.3. That's not going to be enough. I'm going to set it at 20 and 4. That'll give me what I need. The wires are supposed to be 1 to 2 millimeter filigree wires. So I can work with that. I'm going to activate my history so that my offset lines will obey when I change the center line. Right now it's set to 0.9, so if I put that on both sides it's 1.8, and that's a little heavy, I think. So I'm going to make it 1.7 total. 1.7 would be 0.85, so I'll type in 0.85. That offsets 0.85 on each side, and there I go. Now I'm going to take these curves, record history with my offset outline of my wire, and I'm going to array it with history in a polar array. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. So 8. Alright, so now I have the center line, the master center line, and then all the curves going around. I turn on the points. I always delete the sub-anchor points. So get rid of those. And now I'll adjust my curve until my outlines. By the way, if I don't want to keep doing that, I can lock the blue layer. It'll still update even though it's blocked. You can imagine this is much easier than me trying to guess where the exact middle of this filigree is, of this wire. It becomes obvious when I offset and adjust so that I can make it fit my drawing nice and accurate. Okay, now that I've done it, my instinct is that those wires are still too thick. So I'm going to Control C. I'm going to copy this out into Windows Clipboard. Then I'm going to undo. Back to before my offset. Okay, I'm going to delete this and Control V, paste back my original that I had just finished working with, and I'll offset again. This time instead of 0.85 I'll do it 0.8. I have to record history, so escape out, turn on record history. Both sides. I think that's more accurate. If I want to continue to refine this, I can. But before I do that, I would want to array these polar so I can see how these negative shapes and things respond. So record history, of course. Array polar 8 times. And this really does look pretty good. Maybe I want to turn on a curvature graph to see how smooth this curve is. Boost up its display scale so I can see. And then I can decide if I want to refine the curve further to make the grid more smooth. I've got to be careful here. I don't want that wire. It has to overlap my frame. It has to bite in. So I move those 2 points together to maintain smoothness. That's pretty smooth. Okay? And that's it. That's how I would trace it. I have a couple of issues I'm aware of. This isn't biting into my bezel. Okay? Which means I have to change that a little. I'll turn off my bitmap so I can just see my drawing. Turn off the bitmap, you click on this N button. Okay. And I can adjust this by moving these 2 points until this side of the wire buries in. Fine. And I'll bring back my bitmap. Right click on the button. I will offset this frame. Now the design says the frame should be 1.1 millimeter to 2.5. Not sure what that was. Let's take a look. It was at 1.7, so that's fine. I'll make it an even 1.7. So what I did there, guys, is I did it by eye first, checked the dimension, and then did it again with precision. You can see that my curves are biting in. Everything's biting in. Okay. Turn off my bitmap. Turn off my curvature graph. Make everything but my curve the same layer. And that's it. I'm done. Thanks for watching.